Today, I'm going to show you how to customize your Blender startup file so every new project opens exactly the way you want it. This is one of the best time-saving tricks in Blender, because instead of redoing the same setup every single time, you can make your preferred layout, render engine, units, and viewport settings load automatically whenever Blender starts. If you want to work faster and create a cleaner workflow, this is a must-know feature. And before we begin, if this tutorial helps you out, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more Blender tips just like this. First, open a fresh instance of Blender. Starting with a clean file is important because whatever is in this scene can become part of your startup file. Once Blender opens, take a moment to make the changes you want saved by default. A very common first step is deleting the default cube. If you do not want the cube showing up every time you open Blender, simply select it and press X on your keyboard, then confirm the delete. That clears the scene so you can start from scratch. Of course, if you actually want the cube there as part of your default setup, you can leave it in place. The point here is that you can decide exactly what your startup scene should contain. Next, let's adjust the render engine. Go over to the Render Properties tab on the right side of the screen. By default, Blender usually starts in Eevee, but if you want higher quality lighting and more realistic renders, switch it from Eevee to Cycles. This is especially useful if Cycles is your main rendering workflow, and you do not want to change it manually every time you open a new file. After that, check your unit system. Go into the Scene Properties or Unit Settings and change the unit system from Metric to Imperial if that suits your projects better. You can also adjust the unit scale if you need a different level of precision. This is a great option if you work on architectural scenes, product models, or anything where real-world measurements matter. Setting this up now saves time later and keeps your projects consistent. Now let's talk about your UI layout. Blender is extremely customizable, so you can resize windows, add new workspaces, or rearrange panels to match the way you like to work. If you spend a lot of time modeling, sculpting, or animating, you can build a layout that puts your most used tools right where you need them. You can also change theme colors if you want a better visual experience or just prefer a different look. These UI changes can make a huge difference in your daily workflow. Another helpful setting is viewport overlays. If you want to keep track of performance and scene complexity, turn on statistics in the overlay options. This will let you always see your poly count directly in the viewport, which is really useful for optimization and monitoring how heavy your scene is. Small tweaks like this can make Blender much easier to use, especially as your projects get more complex. Once you have everything set the way you want, it is time to save the startup file. Go up to File, then Defaults, and click Save Startup File. Blender will ask you to confirm the save in a pop-up, so click that confirmation button to lock in your changes. From this point forward, Blender will open with this exact setup whenever you launch it. Now, here's something very important to understand. Saving the startup file saves everything currently in your scene, not just the settings. That means any meshes, materials, objects, and even the current frame on the timeline can be included. So before you save, make sure your scene is clean and only contains what you actually want as your default setup. This warning is easy to overlook, but it can save you from accidentally baking unwanted objects into your startup file. If you ever mess up your layout or settings and want to return to the original default Blender scene, there is a way to reset it. Go to File, then Defaults, and choose Load Factory Settings. This temporarily restores Blender to its original factory state, including the classic default cube scene. But remember, this reset is only temporary until you save it. If you want to make the factory settings permanent again, you must go back to File, Defaults, and Save Startup File one more time. So to recap, you can open a fresh Blender file, make your changes, delete the cube if needed, switch render engines, adjust units, customize your workspace, enable statistics, and then save everything as your startup file. And if anything ever goes wrong, you can always load factory settings and save again to restore the original default setup. This gives you full control over how Blender opens every time. If you found this tutorial useful, please hit the like button, subscribe for more Blender tutorials, and turn on notifications so you do not miss the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.